I want to ask another pitch angle with Norman because China is backing the diplomatic push to end the US and Iran conflict after this ceasefire is extended. The current situation is, of course, critical. These were the comments being made by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Jiao Jiakun. Of course, he said that in Beijing. I want to ask because China and Pakistan do have a very friendly relationship to one another, economic relationship as well. And Pakistan is not being able to bring the two sides to sit down in that nation. On the other side, there is some foreign diplomacy that is happening due to China, which cannot be ignored. The Taiwan president cancels his trip after African countries revoke flight permits. Of course, these African nations would include the Seychelles, the Mauritius, and the Madagascar. They revoked the Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's presidential trip due to some kind of diplomatic pressure from China. Another global avenue opening up just in the borders of Asia. I want to ask this to Norman. How do you see this coming in?
Yes, we're dealing with a great war. Basically, we're looking at a country's looking at how can they manipulate the trends that's going on. This conflict is one of a global nature, is affecting how we do trade and commerce. That is the issue. Bombs and missiles and drones is one thing. That's the physical part. But the more long-term issue is, how do we affect the economies? How do we change? How do we address issues necessary for the multipolar world to move forward? That is the issue. If Iran can affect that, they will change how the world does business. The global south is emerging. China is part of that. China is looking at enhancing their economy and have a global impact as an alternative solutions to what's going on. Energy is a big thing. Infrastructure development is a big thing. So everything is predicated on getting the free flow of resources coming from the region of the Middle East. That region has a strong impact on providing resources necessary for automation, technology, and everything else that comes from the Taiwan area. So Taiwan and China is big producers of business, the new business moving forward. So the issues that we're dealing with right now with the Strait has to be resolved or come to some type of understanding so the world can move forward. Right now, 20%, maybe more than that, of the world is basically on hold because we can't get our resources because this conflict between the United States and that region is causing economic chaos to the rest of the world. That is the issue, the economic impact, doing business on how do we get to the next level? How do we move forward? We got big events come up like the World Cup and other things, the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, and other things planned, and we have to understand that energy is a big factor here. Countries need to get the resources to have energy. There will be major problems if companies and countries can't get the energy to do daily business. That is the shock wave that we're dealing with. That is Iran is basically using that situation as their own atomic bomb. How we control the matrix, the nature, how do we become relevant, how do we not be overlooked, and how can we have an impact on the future so our country, our region can prosper like the rest of the world. So that is what's going on. We're seeing a lot of shifting and plan, but it's politically, geopolitically, there's positions that's been moved every single day, every minute. Every action has a reaction. So everything is strategized, everything is planned, everything is calculated for the maximum impact, not a response from a missile attack or a ship attack, what effect really they have? The effect is basically income. Every day we're losing, 20, 20% of the world's economy is
Right.
stagnated by this conflict. Money is not being made. Every day that we go through this conflict, we're losing billions, trillions of potential income and
Right.
people's livelihood in certain situations. They do not have an infrastructure to maintain and to tolerate this. They are dependent on getting this free flow of information. So that is the issue we're dealing with, a economic catastrophe, a
Right.
tsunami of global impact because of this situation.